Hi there everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking you over my June TBR. I recently finished the Empyrean series up to the point it's out, which is Onyx Storm, and so I'm trying to stay away from the romantasy genre because I'm trying not to put myself into a book slump. But I picked out, how many is there? Like 7-ish books that are either romance or just kind of a mixture of things to try and keep me out of this book slump. Some are physical books and some are ones that I will read on my Kindle. I'm going to start with the book that I'm currently reading right now, which is The Mistake by Elle Kennedy, which is the second book in the Off-Campus series. Another one on my June TBR is The Score, which is the third book in the series. If you don't know what Off-Campus is, it's essentially a sports romance series set at university, and all of our male main characters are on a hockey team. And it's very similar to the Windy City series, which if you have watched previous videos of mine, you would know that that is like a very highly rated series for me. And the entire concept of it is that they're interconnected within themselves in the world that it is. So like our first couple was about Hannah, our first book was about the couple Hannah and Garrett, and they are mentioned in this second book, but the second book is now about John, Logan and Grace, and it's their story. So they're interconnected because there's mentions of the characters and it's this small town and everything, but they're also slightly standalones in a certain type of way. Like if you haven't read the past books, you wouldn't miss too much. But a vlog of me reading The Mistake along with some other books will be out later, so I don't want to give thoughts or opinions on where I'm currently up to. And I'm just going to leave it there. The second one is a dark romance series, which is The Risk. Now, The Risk is book 1 in the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. It is a dark romance thriller about this complex female lead character who has this like FBI agent drawn into her world, and that's kind of all I know about it, and I don't want to read too much more about it because I don't want to know spoilers or anything. I like going into books slightly blind, and so I chose it because there's a lot of people I follow that have very similar tastes to me, that I know that they really enjoyed it, and so I thought I'd give it a go. The next one is a physical book, which is one that has been on my TBR repeatedly for I don't know how long, which just goes to prove that my TBRs aren't like set in stone. They're just books that I'd prioritise, but like I'm a very big mood reader, so I might not stick to the TBR. Not just that, but I don't tend to stick to TBRs as is, but they're kind of the ones that I have in mind that like I think are my priority, and I'll try to read like at least 2 or 3 of them each month. Last month was the Empyrean series, and I did end up reading all of those in the month of May. So, but the first physical book is The Court of Thorns and Roses. I got this book, I genuinely don't know how long ago, but I've just seen a lot of stuff about it, and I think it's one that I'll really enjoy. I do know a lot of people say that this one is a lot slower than the later ones in the series because it's like an introduction and everything, but I really want to read it because it's been on my TBR for a very, very, very long time, and I do want to get around to it because I want to have another fantasy romantasy series to read to hopefully help me move on from the Empyrean series. But whether it will ever compare, I highly doubt it. Like I don't think anything could ever compare, but I'm going to read you the blurb on the back. Fair is a huntress. I don't know if that's actually how you say it, but the skin of wolf would bring enough gold to feed her sisters for a month. But the life of magical creatures comes at a steep price, and Fair has just killed the wrong wolf. Taken prisoner by a high Fey lord, Fair earns her masked captors is hiding even more than his piercing gaze suggests. But as Fair's feelings for Tamlin begin to burn through every warning she's heard about his kind, a shadow is falling across the land, and if Fair cannot fight it, she will lose everything. So, I'm very excited about this. My camera cut off while I was speaking, but I just told you about A Court of Thorns and Roses. So the next one is also a physical book. It's not this one. It's the second one of this one, which is part of a duology. This one is obviously the first book, The Way I Used to Be. The second one is The Way I Am Now. They're by Amber Smith. The book focuses on our main character Eden, and she faces a lot of mental struggles and things, and so obviously not just this book but any book within this video that I'm not necessarily recommending, because I can't recommend them because I've not read them, so I don't even know my opinion or rating or review on them. But any book that I'm talking about, or any book I ever talk about or recommend or whatever it may be, please take it upon yourselves to look at the trigger warnings just as a precaution, because this book, for example, I know has a lot of triggering topics and things in them. And so just please take it upon yourself to look into them for your own well-being. But I've read this one, I think earlier this year or towards the end of last year, and I just never got around to buying the second book, so I'm going to buy the second book and then read it. And then the last physical book on my TBR is The Kill Order, which is book 4 in the Maze Runner series. I've read books 1 through 3, which are the ones that the films are based on. And the second one, I think, is called something Cure. The Fever Cure is what it's called. I just looked on my bookshelf. But hopefully I can finish these at some point and put out a video of me reading all of them. Whether it'll be a 1-part or a 2-part, I don't know. But essentially it follows a group of kids that were put in a maze, and they have to survive said maze, and it has its own trials and tribulations within the maze itself. And it is a sci-fi book, and as far as I remember, it's the first sci-fi book series I've read, maybe ever, or I know it definitely is since I got back into reading. But that is it for the physical books, and we're gonna go back to the Kindle books, or they might eventually be physical books depending on if I buy them or not, I don't know. Which is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I saw this all over the place when it was first came out, and I think it's either a series or a trilogy or something, but it's the first book in the Knock 'Em Out series. Here it says series, but I don't know how many books long it is. But the series follows our main character Naomi Witt, who arrives in this quirky small town looking for a fresh start, but she gets news of her sister's disappearance, and then she's left to look after her 11-year-old niece, and that's all I really know about it. I think I already said this, but I do like going into books blind, and so I don't want to do too much research into the blurb or anything, but I'm very, very much excited because I feel like there's a little sprinkle of mystery in there, and it just expands like the genres within my TBR, which I do enjoy because I like reading different genres, because I like going here and there and all over the place. The next one is one that I've seen more on TikTok than anywhere else, through the people that I follow and whose content I consume, because we have very similar tastes and stuff, which is Diabound by Sable Sorensen. This is actually a new release from February, so it's not like this month new, but it is fairly new, and it's the first book in a new dark romance trilogy, and I love dark romance. I got into it thanks to Haunting Adeline that I read, or Adeline, that I read like a few months ago, and I've been obsessed with dark romance ever since. But the trilogy is going to be called The Wolves of Ruin, and it essentially blends like high stakes, fierce magical creatures, and intense emotional like relationships and things and dynamics, and so I'm very, very, very much excited to see how it goes. A lot of the people I follow that have read it have like read it quite quickly, which gives me hope as well, because I do like a fast-paced book. But now we're on to our final book of the June TBR, which is the one that I'm personally most anticipating reading. It's like the one I'm most anticipated for, because it is the last book in the Windy City series, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a interconnected series, but they can also be read kind of as standalones. It is again a sports romance series, however, unlike Off Campus, it's not one set in stone book, like one set in stone sport. We've had baseball, we've had hockey, we've had, I think that's the only two currently. I think it's just hockey and baseball, but it's based in Chicago, and it's the one I'm most anticipating because I love our male main character, Rio. He's appeared in past books, however his love interest Hallie and our female main character, I personally don't remember being mentioned in any of the previous books, much like the other couples we've followed. I could be wrong, but I don't remember her being mentioned at any point. But I am very, very, very excited to read this. I also think it's going to be slightly bittersweet, as it is the last one in the series, and I kind of don't want that series to end, but you can't help it, and I can't control it. But they are the 7 or 8 books on my June TBR. I don't know if you guys have read any of them, or if they're in your TBR, or if you've got any other books on your TBR, but if any of those are the cases, then please let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, love you guys.